So I heard you want to become hackerman. You just pause Mr. Robot and you're inspired to take over the world. Well, look no further. This is exactly what this series is about, and you've come to the right place. I'm just kidding, but this is the first video of a series that I'm starting here, where I will create a cybersecurity lab together. And this is a beginner series, but I expect you to have some Linux knowledge and understand a little bit of networking fundamentals. But don't worry, if you're not an expert, I'm not either, but I'll try my best to explain every step along the way so that it's as educational as possible. So this first video is a tutorial on how to install and how I like to set up Kali Linux, which is a cybersecurity focused Linux distribution. And I chose Kali because it has all of the tools that I want to teach in this short series pre-installed, and it's super easy to install nowadays, so that's what we're gonna cover today. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so first thing we want to do is install Virtualbox. If you're using Windows, you also have the option of using Hyper-V. I don't really like that much, but especially if you're using WSL, that is already configured, so you might prefer that. You can select your machine here, click on New, Virtual Machine, and set it up. It's a pretty straightforward wizard, but that's not what we're gonna use. I prefer to use a tool called Virtualbox for virtualization. That's also what I use on my Linux notebook. So yeah, this process will be pretty much the same for Windows and for Linux. For Windows hosts, you just click here on downloads, click on Windows hosts, and once it's done downloading, you just click that to execute and run the setup wizard. I trust you to do this yourself. On Linux, it's even easier. You can just do sudo apt install virtualbox, and that's it. You can just say yes there and install it. So once you have Virtualbox, let's open it to check it's working correctly. Alright, so now we need to download Kali. On kali.org you'll find some options here. When you click download, you see you can download the ISO, the installer images. That's good if you want to put that in a bootable USB drive and maybe install it on your main machine. But we're gonna be using a virtual machine. I actually prefer it, and for our cybersecurity lab, it's even better. That'll make more sense in the next tutorial, where I'll show how to set up Unix gateway to run your penetration testing through the Tor network in a more secure way. So here we have the Virtualbox option. I prefer to download it directly without torrent or anything. So just save it somewhere, and you see it's gonna take a while. Alright, so once it's downloaded, you can extract that file. This is a 7-zip archive, so you'll need probably to install 7-zip. Again, I trust you to do that yourself. This is the no bullshit guide, so you can just Google 7-zip and install it, and you should be good to go. But once you do that, you see I have pre-extracted it because it takes a while. And it takes a while because it has two files here. One is this virtual disk image, which is huge. You can see 13 gigabytes. That's because this is the entire file system of Kali already pre-installed and pre-configured for you. So you don't need to run any installation or anything. We just need to import this on Virtualbox. But note that since these files are your entire virtual machine, wherever these files are is where your machine is stored, even the virtual disk. So you can copy this to wherever you like to store your virtual machines. But here in Virtualbox, we can click this plus button to add and find our Virtualbox machine definition. It's the blue file on this same folder that we just extracted. Once we import that, we can just put that, double clicking the name Kali Linux, and let's watch it boot up. Since this is pre-configured, this already has the Virtualbox drivers, so the screen should adjust to the correct size once we log in. The default login and password are just Kali and Kali. Let's wait for it. Okay, so here's our resized screen. This is the default wallpaper. I hate this. I think it's so ugly, but you can see that it has resized the desktop, and we're in Kali. If we go here to the applications, you can see we have a lot of tools for OS int analysis, route analysis, vulnerability analysis tools, password attacks, a lot of crazy cybersecurity tools. But our journey here is not done yet. We need to configure some things. One thing that I like to do, just to make this a bit smoother, I think not all of you are gonna like this configuration, but that's something I like to do, is disable the display compositing. That will remove all animations, transparency, shadows, everything, and make it run a lot smoother. So we can search for window manager tweaks there, and the last tab here, compositor, is what I'm looking for. So I just disable display compositing to make it faster. Another configuration that I like to do is change the username and the host name, just so in case we leave traces, they are as anonymous as possible. So for example, if someone is able to find out our host name or our username, we don't want to give off that we're using Kali necessarily, so I like to set this to something very generic. For this tutorial, I'll set the host name as host name and the username as just user. So to set the host name, first we need to edit the /etc/hosts file. Let's do that. We need to use sudo for that, sudo nano /etc hosts. So you'll see we have this Kali as the host name and this address. So let's just change this to whatever we want. Let's go host name, and then Ctrl-O will save the file, Ctrl-X will close the file. Now we need to run hostname ctl set hostname, and then choose the hostname. I'll do hostname, and then we need to put in the password. Here I have already changed the password. You can do that using passwd. We'll ask for the current password. The default is Kali, and then you can put your new one to something more secure. Okay, so I opened up a new terminal window here, and you see we have the new hostname set up. Alright, next thing we need to do is set the root user password so that we can log in as root. So do sudo su, that will make you impersonate the super user. You're gonna put your password that you just set for the Kali user. Now we're root. Now we need to set the password for the root user using the same command, passwd, and set some new password. Okay. Now we have to set this root password. This is just good practice in general, but also because we'll need to restart the machine and log into the root user to make changes to the Kali user. In this case, we'll be renaming it to just user. So to do that, we need to log into the root user. We can log in with root and the password that we just set. And here we are, we have root access now. Let's just open another terminal, and you can see that the desktop settings are user-based, so the root user has the compositing enabled, even though I disabled it for the Kali user. I'm gonna change that now. Alright, so now we're in terminal as root. Let's change the Kali user name to using user mod -l for login name. And here we put the new login name, not the previous one. Let's go user, which is the new one. And D to set the home directory. I'll just take over the Kali home directory, which is the previous one, and modify Kali, which is the previous name of the user. Alright, so we renamed successfully the Kali user to just user, but now I also need to change the group, because the group that has permissions to run all of the cybersecurity tools is the Kali group. So I need to do group mod -n and the new group name, previous group name. Alright, now we should be set. Let's log out of root. Actually, let's do a full restart just to be sure that all of the configurations are applied and loaded correctly. Alright, and here we can log in as user and our password that we just set. Okay, cool. So let's see if we can use sudo normally. We open a terminal, we can see here user at hostname, much better. Let's go sudo nano etc hosts. Put our password and let's add a comment here. And if we do Ctrl-O, we should be able to save it. Alright, it's working. Alright, another important thing to do is to update the system. This is good practice after any fresh install, because usually the ISO files or these pre-configured VMs, like the one that we downloaded, have very outdated packages in them. So to do the update, we can do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade. This dash y is just to run the command without asking for confirmation. This will fail because of the package lock, because I'm already running this command in another terminal window, and this takes around forever. So while it's updating, you can pause this video, leave it running there, unpause your Mr. Robot, grab a cup of coffee, and when it's done, I'll be back here. Alright, updates installed. So the last thing I want to do before I wrap this up is to change this wallpaper. For God's sake, I'm gonna go with this blue one here. I think it looks a lot better, but also I don't really like the login screen wallpaper that much either. I think that's not great. So I'm gonna go and show you how you can change that as well if you want. You can just search for light DM GTK greeter settings, and here the only thing is you can't see the preview of the background image, but we can search for this blue one. This is stored at user share backgrounds, I believe. Yes, then we have Kali Light 2. I think that's the one. Let's test it out, and here we go. We have the same wallpaper on the login screen and on the desktop. So this is the basic setup for Kali Linux. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. So I heard you want to be hackerman. I heard you